mix of corners does give close action.
Yeah, I've always thought it produces great racing, great television, and it was pointed out to me on Twitter, it's also a great place to watch because you can see so much of the track. My only criticism is it is that bit soulless, but it just doesn't have the BTCC history, does it?
No.
But no criticism whatsoever of the racing it provides.
And so, we have said it quite a lot this season, Tom Chilton, looking for a maiden win, is the man on pole position. Matt Simpson, who has been a winner, is with him at the front, and he's on that prime tyre, which could well be crucial. Rory Butcher starting third, and he has had a very impressive day in the MG6, run by AMD, Sean Hollenby's team. Probably Rory's best day in the championship thus far. No question, great races, and it'd be nice to see him get a good finish. He was a bit slow away, but he's away now, that's good. I must say, Chris Smiley must really fancy his chances. He's been so quick all weekend, qualifying on the hard tyre as well. In the last race, he's been so good. He must really fancy his chances. Yeah, he said to me after race 2, it's party time now, because around him is everybody, as you say, on that harder tyre. He's on the prime. So the green flag lap underway. Round 21 of the British Touring Car Championship has Tom Chilton on pole position, Matt Simpson with him at the front of the grid ahead of Rory Butcher and then Mike Bushell, who's also had a mighty impressive weekend. Chris Smiley starts 5th, fellow Northern Irish driver Colin Turkington 6th ahead of Senna Proctor and Tom Ingram. Adam Morgan, a race winner, 9th. Ash Sutton, the race 2 winner, is 10th ahead of Ollie Jackson and Josh Cook. Andrew Jordan, one to watch from 13th. Matt Neal starting 14th, should make progress. Then it's Jack Goff, who's had a subdued day. Dan Lloyd struggled in race 2. Tom Oliphant is 17th on the grid. Then it's Sam Tordoff, James Cole and Ricky Collard to round out the top 20. Dan Camish is 21st with Lynn Geddy alongside. Then Sam Smelt and Brett Smith. Ollie Pidgley is 25th. Jason Plato 26th alongside him ahead of Rob Austin and Bobby Thompson with Michael Caine, Aidan Moffat and then Stephen Jelly, a winner here in the past, rounding out the grid. Ballast, of course, now is based on what you accrued in that second race. Tom Chilton has 9, 15 for Matt Simpson, all the way up to 75 for race winner Ash Sutton. And it's those that are on the prime tyre, really, now that are the standouts, because they, in theory, should have the better tyre, but we will see whether that does prove to be the case. But we're looking at the likes of Simpson, Smiley and Jordan up near the front on the prime tyre. Now, let's try and have a word with Tom Oliphant before we go racing. Tom, it's been a bit of a hard day, really. Contact in the first race didn't help, did it?
Definitely not. I've had lots of fun coming through, but the pace on Saturday, without the obviously not having a lot of running, was really good. Race 1 really quick, just contact stopped us getting any higher, and yeah, that's it.
Now, what about this final race? Because we've seen a bit of rain falling. What's the track like? Is it wet? Is it dry? Is it greasy?
Nah, it's completely dry. We had a few spits, but nothing more. It's not going to affect anything, I don't think, unless we have a sudden downpour halfway through. So, yeah, all good to go racing.
And after this, you've got the best part of 2 weeks repair time, so I guess it's elbows out and go for it.
I think everybody's got that approach, yeah. So, just got to stay out of trouble on the first lap, and I think we've got pace to get up inside the top 10.
Excellent. Good luck, Tom.
Thanks.
Tom Oliphant, then new to the championship this season, of course, came with a good track record out of Porsches, both in Carrera Cup GB and in the Middle East, and we understand that Ricky Collard has stopped. Yes, he has, coming out of Gracelands. I can just see him in the distance. There he is. So Ricky Collard, and this could, I'm afraid, delay the start, could it not? The car has ground to a halt. The start is being delayed, and so that presumably will give us another formation lap, and therefore 1 lap off the distance. Start delayed board. And this is certainly not how Ricky Collard envisaged ending his maiden weekend in the BTCC.
No, it's a shame, isn't it? And, he's thoroughly been enjoying his weekend, I'm sure, and would have liked to have got stuck into one of the reverse grid races where there's progress can be made. But it's not to be. The car seems to have shut down, and Ricky won't be here. I'm thinking Ricky may still be back in the car at Knockhill. There's certainly talk of it, which, of course, is a good circuit for BMW. And I'd like to see him have another weekend for sure in it. And the concussion that reoccurred for Rob Collard, his dad, these things take a long time to get well. And interestingly, Rob wasn't actually knocked out in that Snetterton shunt, but he just hasn't felt right in his head afterwards, and forgetful and all the classic signs of concussion. So it may well be that in 2 weeks' time we see Ricky get another chance.
We're down to 15 laps when we will go racing. Ricky Collard's car will be quickly hoiked off the circuit. The recovery vehicle is in front of it, so they attach the ropes and then they'll try and get that off the circuit as fast as possible. So it'll be another formation lap, and then it will be 15 laps before we go racing. All the teams line up like soldiers there, all standing to attention, ready for the start of the race.
Well, up on the pit wall just to get a slightly higher vantage point at the start there. They're a long way away from the cars, and even signalling to the cars from the pit wall is a long way from the cars, and drivers often say they never see the pit boards. So we're away on another formation lap.
Yes, Ricky Collard's car is being retrieved, and they're the Team Hard engineers looking on, in particular at Mike Bushell, lining up fourth on the grid. So it's this extra formation lap, and then 1 lap off the race duration. We'll be down to 15 laps because of this delayed start as the field accelerates away. So Matt Simpson knows he can do this. He won at Alton Park. Chris Smiley is oh so keen for that maiden win. Perhaps more so because teammate Dan Lloyd has had a win and he came late into the squad.
Yeah, it was Chris Smiley's team to start with, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Very much part of the whole deal that got to put together with Norlin. And yes, he's still to have that win. I thought Matt Simpson actually didn't sound that determined to win, did he? Not like he did at Alton Park. You know, he sounded, oh yeah, you know, if I can get away, you know, that'd be good, and maybe get a podium. But he should be thinking this is a real chance. He should be thinking this is a race I need to grab by the scruff of its neck and go out and win. And that was the attitude he had at Alton Park, and it worked well for him, didn't it?
Now, Ricky Collard's car is still not off the track. It was being pulled away, and now it has ground to a halt again, so it's still not off the circuit. We might be looking at an even longer delay, I'm afraid to say here.
Yeah, they're putting the lifting jacks in, look, underneath the roof. They're going to have to lift it, which means the flatbed truck has to come. So I think we will be having yet another delayed start.
So that could, or should, therefore be another lap off the distance. So the officials here thinking, right, we'll release the cars because they can tow it and it'll be clear, but it's something mechanical. The thought is that it might be prop shaft, and so the car is stranded on the track. So it's going to be touch and go whether we go racing this time. The recovery vehicle is quickly on the scene. It's a big grid to file through, but it is going to be touch and go, this.
Yeah, it's not a quick thing. It needs to be done carefully. I'd be surprised, but we'll see. Our Great British Marshals will be doing the job. All the guys on the option, excuse me, hard tyre will be delighted to have these extra warm-up laps.
Yeah.
Get a bit more temperature in those tyres. That's just what they want.
So there is Tom Oliphant's view. He is starting 17th on the grid. That's Dan Lloyd just up the road ahead of him. We were talking about Dan a moment ago, and 15 laps currently is the distance. But again, you can't leave the car sitting on the grid for 10 minutes and then start the race. It has to be pretty much instantly once you've come back from that final formation lap. Ollie Jackson has had a pretty solid day, again showing good pace with the now venerable Audi S3 run by AMDtuning.com. The grid is forming up. Ricky Collard's car is being suspended. Depends where that car needs to be out of harm's way, because the back of the grid has not yet formed up. The race could start, and by the time they get to the Tarzan hairpin, the road could be clear, assuming that they don't have to take it terribly far off the road. And I reckon we might get away with this. We might be good to go. Ian Watson, the clerk of the course, will make the call. The back of the grid is still trickling into position. Ricky Collard's car is almost off the road. I think we might be okay here. Stephen Jelly there is going to be right at the very back. Winner here for BMW WSR going back a decade or so. And Ricky Collard's car, it's a bit precarious, but it's off the road. Oh, the front nearly digs in. It's being done quickly, all of this, but hopefully without incurring any further damage as the grid is formed. Are we good? Start delayed again.
I'm not surprised, because the problem is that there's no way that he can get clear without the risk of the cars coming round, and we all know that how dangerous it is to have recovery trucks on the track whilst racing's going on, so it can't be covered by yellow flags, and the driver can't drive any quicker. He needs those guys steadying the car. They're off on their next formation lap, and I'm sure they'll be away next. The digger's going to come in through the support race paddock entrance, isn't it?
And also there you saw the marshals arrive to guide the car because it had lost all that stability. Twice you saw how close it was to digging into the ground and risking damage, and that's why you have that lifting system to try and stop that. So we're having another green flag lap, and we're down to 14 racing laps now because of the fuel situation. Each warming up lap, each extra warming up lap means you then take one off the distance. Now, it could be, if we get a safety car, that they build back up again. But we're down to 14 as our starting point.
John Waterman, engineer down at West Surrey Racing.
So, sadly, 2 BMWs, not 3, from WSR will take the start. There's the Team Parker racing car, of course, of Stephen Jelley at the rear of the field. So, are we looking at a Matt Simpson win, or could it be Chris Smiley, or could Andrew Jordan here save the day for WSR and carve his way through? It's a big ask from 13th, but you never know.
Well, we saw a great run from Ingram in the last race, and he has got the superior tyre on, so it's definitely possible.
So it has been another day of changing fortunes in the season of changing fortunes. You look back at some of the results people were having at Brands Hatch, like Subaru, for example, really struggling at the start of the season. Rob Austin got a podium there, and things come and go. They rise and fall up and down the order. Andrew Jordan is one of those on the prime tyre.
And for reference, it was Andy Jordan won the 3rd race here last year, so he knows how to do it.
Indeed so. And he's not had a win this season, but he's been consistently racking up the points. He did win the touring car shootout hill climb at Goodwood, didn't he, in the summer, but he wants a race win. So does Tom Chilton. Matt Simpson would like another. Rory Butcher would quite like his maiden victory. Mike Bushell would love a win. Chris Smiley salivating at the thought of a victory. And then 6th on the grid is Colin Turkington, who will treat this perhaps a bit like a cash register and just think about the numbers and the points and push when he needs to and bank when he has to.
Yeah, from his interview earlier, it sounded like he was more convinced he was going to do well at Knockhill than he was here. He's got his rival Ingram starting 2 places behind, so he'll be watching his mirrors, but yeah, he'll be watching the guys in front of him kick off, won't he, and hoping to do his usual picking up the pieces.
He knows when to hold and when to fold, doesn't he, Colin Turkington? When to go for a place and when to just sit back and let it kick off around him. So, 3rd time lucky. We are down to 14 laps, but the grid is starting to form back up once again. Ricky Collard is therefore a non-starter, and everybody else coming to the grid. Can I see a wiper on there from 1 or 2 cars? Still the odd spot of rain on the camera lens. A very frustrated Ricky Collard. Is not going to be part of race 3. Former touring car racer Nick Foster there as part of the squad, just having a word with him. Dick Bennett finds out the news, but then has to concentrate, the team principal, on the other 2 cars. Stephen Jelley's BMW, run by Stuart Parker's squad, Team Parker Racing, with a great track record in Caterhams, Porsches, British GT, and now Blancpain GT Racing as well. So, it is time to go racing. It's round 21 of the British Touring Car Championship from Rockingham, and it is go! Good start is made by Chilton from pole position. Smiley gets away nicely as well as they pound towards turn 1. Chilton leads the way. Simpson moves across and defends from Rory Butcher. Mike Bushell goes to the outside line. To the inside goes Chris Smiley. Wipers are on as they pound their way through turn 1. Chilton is getting away. Is the rain starting to come as they head in towards the hairpin for the first time? Chilton loses it. Off he goes. Simpson slides into him and Chris Smiley picks up the race lead. Smiley is ahead as they come out of what is now a very slippery hairpin.
It was damp down at the hairpin. They all did the same thing. Outbrake themselves, locked up the rear. You can see on our camera there's rain. Look at Smiley sliding, but he's had a great opportune moment to get out in front.
So the rain is coming, the track surface is changing, it's caught out Chilton, it's caught out Simpson. Off goes Jordan now. Andrew Jordan's off the road and the car doesn't seem to want to turn. That might have been a legacy of contact. Morgan gets attacked from Turkington, and now look at Butcher. He's on the back of Smiley for the race lead.
There's some huge slides going on. Butcher's on the outside coming down to Tarzan, but they've got no rear temperature in those tyres. I'm really fearful of turn 1 now. That rain has moved up to turn 1, and these guys are hitting that at full speed when they get round. Doesn't look too bad, but wow.
So Chris Smiley and Rory Butcher joint leaders. Adam Morgan is up to 3rd from 9th on the grid. Matt Simpson is fighting back in 4th. Rory Butcher can smell a good result coming up here, but Chris Smiley is desperate for that maiden victory. They are nose to tail. Butcher, remember, is on the harder task. Smiley is on the prime as they come over the line now. 3rd is Morgan. 1 lap of 14 in the book, and there's drama there. That's going to be a safety car because you've lost Brett Smith, poor old Aidan Moffat's in strife, and I think that was Bobby Thompson as well. Safety car is on standby. The leaders have got through turn 1. Butcher looks at the inside of the hairpin. Smiley covers the line, and he still leads the way. Morgan there is in 3rd place, ahead of Simpson, Turkington, and up into 6th is Ollie Jackson. Tordoff is 7th, Ingram is 8th, 9th is Senna Proctor, 10th is Tom Oliphant having a great run. Into the pits is Tom Chilton. Ingram is all sideways down at Yetwood, and the safety car is on standby because of that drama that you saw down at Brook. As Morgan loses a place now, the Mercedes has suddenly been mugged by Simpson and Turkington and Tordoff.
Yeah, the Turkington's keeping his powder dry. They're a little bit more circumspect into the Dean chicane this time. The safety car is out. They race back to the boards, though. Contact with Tordoff and Ollie Jackson, but the Tordoff keeps going. They're still side by side down into Tarzan as Butcher tries to cut back. Can we see the flags out? We've seen this in the past. Yes, there they are. Flags are out on the left, look. So they stop racing at that point. That's good marshalling, getting the flags out. Oh, hello.
Rory Butcher round the outside on the yellow flags.
He hasn't seen the flag.
So at a change of lead, he's going to have to give that place back.
Surely he'll have to give that back. But the team will be on to him. Hopefully they've seen this and we'll be able to tell him to give the place up. But Chris Smiley backed off after he saw the ball correctly for the instant ahead, and Rory didn't see it. Sometimes you don't if the car's in front and you're looking the wrong way, but that's what the radios are for. Yeah, he's flashing. Chris is flashing to say, hold on, mate, you've passed me incorrectly. Let me back through. Now, is Rory staying out wide to let him back? I think he is, yes.
So Rory Butcher gives back the place to Chris Smiley. And in third place is Matt Simpson. Here it was. They've gone past the yellow flag. You can see it being waved.
Yeah, and Rory just goes through, But he may have been unsighted. Sometimes if the car's on your left and the flag marshal post was on the left. Back to the start, and it was a fairly even start. Look at Andy Jordan popping out the rear-wheel drive BMW. He gets a couple of places, goes right to the outside, but it was away cleanly at the front. And now we come down to the slippery surface. Chilton is the first to get there. Watch the back end of the cars. He turns in, the back goes. Same for Simpson, same for Butcher. They all slid wide. Smiley was the only one who got the pace absolutely right. Through he goes. There was contact with Jordan and Chilton. That may be what damaged the right front of Jordan's car, because he couldn't turn left when we got round to Piff Paff, and he shot off the road. So there we are. Here's a different incident up at the Brook chicane. Look further back. Spinning round there. Went Kane and Smith into the back of him. Yeah.
I think it was all Moffat involved in that. Also in that first incident at Dean, Mike Bushell went straight on, and Ash Sutton also was delayed. He's down in 24th place, the race 2 winner.
Yeah, James Cole walking back. Brett Smith with his helmet off. Very disappointed runners. So, whew.
Time to catch your breath. Rory Butcher was the leader briefly, but Chris Smiley, as it was before the yellows came out, is the leader. Rory Butcher is second, and third it is Matt Simpson. Turkington is fourth, fifth is Adam Morgan, sixth is Sam Tordoff, seventh is Ollie Jackson, eighth Tom Ingram, ninth is Senna Proctor, 10th is Tom Oliphant. Andrew Jordan then, after his damage into the pit lane. It's been another kind of wasted day for Andrew, all that potential, but it's not been realised across any race.
And he's been really unlucky because he made a good start there, but he just ran into the slowing Chilton, because Chilton had obviously a problem. He's now explaining to Alan Hyde and the Motorbase team what went wrong, but disaster. Another missed opportunity for Motorbase to get a win.
As it was with Tordoff in race 1, poor old David Bartram and his team have just not had a good day. We're going to go racing this lap, we understand. Quick look on board from Josh Cook.
Yeah, everybody going off. Where do you go? Look, he hits the throttle, brings the front ring down. There you see the contact with Jordan and Chilton on the right side. Chilton was hobbling along and Andy just had nowhere to go, and that's what's damaged the right front. If we stay on it, we'll see Andy. He's still going right at this moment. It's when he tries to go left, the car wants to go straight on.
Lights are out on top of the safety car, and that means we're going to go back racing this time. So now we'll see what sort of a restart Chris Smiley can do. But fair play to Rory Butcher on the option tyre, the harder tyre, because he stayed with him and was giving him a really tough fight, wasn't he?
He was. But Chris Smiley was close enough to the front to see how Ash Sutton did the restarts. Has he gone already? Has he gone? Yes, he has. Good restart. Good restart. Gives him a nice little gap before they get up to the chicane.
And he needs Matt Simpson now to get on to terms with Rory Butcher. But Rory in the MG is right back there, leaping over the curb and always having a look at the inside as they get towards the timing line. Only when you've crossed the beam can you start to overtake, and that'll be down towards turn 1. So can Butcher attack, or will Smiley pull away? Let's see. We go racing once more in round 21 of the championship. Smiley has the advantage. This is the best chance he has ever had for a win. And Rory Butcher likewise, he's the man chasing after him as they come down towards the Dean hairpin. Simpson is third, Fourth is Turkington. There's Adam Morgan on the inside for fifth, ahead of Tordoff, and a big lock-up by Ollie Jackson, and that's going to give Tom Ingram a place.
Yeah, Tom Ingram will take that one. Ollie Jackson did well just to get the car slowed down and turned, to be honest. This is on board with him now. Track seems to have dried up a little bit, actually. There are spots of rain not falling, and the car's now behaving a little bit more like they've got some temperature in. But one of the great things about that MG is its stability. It's a bigger car, longer car. It does have good stability, and Rory's exploiting that.
But he's also got Matt Simpson coming back at him now. Look, suddenly the gap has opened up first to second. It's come right down second to third, and Simpson is going to make a move against Butcher. Smiley needs this battle to carry on for the rest of the afternoon so he can scarper into the distance. Simpson to the outside. Turkington is there in fourth, significantly ahead of Ingram in the race, the man he's fighting with in the championship. Tordoff is fifth, trying to turn around his day. Simpson to the inside of Butcher. The white-nosed Honda will go through. Yes, on the inside line. Simpson with damage sustained on the first lap. Look, it's a banana-shaped Honda then, but he's up into second place.
Well, certainly might be damage on the door, but Turkington now getting a run on Butcher. Butcher's not got the pace he had on the very first lap, has he now? And there's a bit of damage on the front of Turkington's car as well. But Simpson, a good outbraking manoeuvre. Turkington through as well, losing a bit there. Butcher comes back underneath him, and we'll have the inside into Dean, who's going to be the last of the late breakers. Dangerous being on the outside for Colin there. He doesn't want to get run into by running wide around the outside.
Have a look at Ingram. He's ahead of Morgan now. Riding with Ollie Jackson, who is eighth, but Tom Ingram, therefore, is up into the top six as he goes through Yentwood. The leader, Chris Smiley, was 1.2 seconds up on Matt Simpson going on to this sixth lap out of the 16. Can he build that gap, or will Simpson be able to close?
Remember that Ingram's running with 57 kilos, earned from third place in the last race.
And equally, amongst those leading Hondas, Smiley 33, Simpson 15. So down they come. It's the heavier Honda in the lead. Second, Matt Simpson. Third is Butcher. Fourth is Turkington, under attack from Tordoff now. And then it's Tom Ingram waiting to see what kicks off ahead of him. Adam Morgan is next. Tom Oliphant tries to go around the outside and see whether he can gain any ground out of all of this. Matt Neal is 14th, having done the fastest lap of the race thus far.
Yeah, and that's a quick lap of 24.2. That's a quick lap from Matt Neal. So conditions definitely dry.
Tom Oliphant is in the mix as well. He's got himself up past Senna Proctor now, so Oliphant is ninth. And there is Dan Lloyd wriggling out of the Brook chicane. Replay here of Oliphant going around the outside of Proctor into Tarzan.
Yeah, good move. Proctor was sort of held up by everyone. Oh, Lloyd, oh! Whoa! Oh, I thought he was going straight into the wall then. Thank goodness he lifted off.
Tordoff all over the back of Turkington, oh so close to contact, tries the outside line. Look at Ingram catching up as well. Tordoff tries to get the cutback, but that's going to put him on the outside line on the run towards Yentwood. Turkington stands his ground. He gives Tordoff just enough room, but no more, and Ingram is right with them.
Yeah, well, Ingram will be saying to Sam, come on, Sam, get stuck into the back of that BMW, do me a favour.
So Colin Turkington running in fourth. He can't go after Rory Butcher because he's too busy defending. The lead gap was 1.2, it crept up to 1.3. Smiley has now done the fastest lap of the race, but we've still got 10 laps to go, so he's not out of the proverbial woods yet. There is Ingram running in sixth. So the order, Smiley, Simpson, Butcher, Turkington, Tordoff, Ingram. That is the leading sextet. Bit of a gap back to Adam Morgan. Seventh, eighth is Jackson. Ninth is Tom Oliphant. And to round out the top 10 now is Dan Camish.
Yeah, he's got in the top 10. I just hope the PTC Norlin team have got their tyre pressures and their camber settings right, because running on the prime tyre, the medium compound tyre, is pushing it very hard. Remember, it's so hard on tyres here around turn 1 and round Piff Paff. So I hope the team have got it right, because Smiley's pace is quick at the moment.
And the gap is up by another 10th, 1.4 seconds. So he's escaping as Tom Oliphant goes over the timing line in the green Mercedes. There he's on the back of Ollie Jackson. We're talking about the MG of Rory Butcher going well. It's run by AMD. Ollie Jackson's Audi's had a really good, solid weekend. That's another AMD car. He goes to the outside of Adam Morgan, the race 1 winner. A win and a second today for Adam Morgan then as he comes through Dean. Tom Oliphant looking for a way past. And Ollie Jackson with the 16th and 11th. Further up the order in this race, looking to gain 7th spot.
Yeah, and Adam Morgan, of course, with 66 kilos on, that hurts the car quite a bit. That's why he's struggling. But yeah, it's a great performance by AMD, as you say, both on the Audi side of things and on the MG side of things.
Mike Bushell there battling on with Glyn Geddy in the second of the MGs. Ash Sutton is just up ahead of them. He's up to 20th. Bushell gets a bit of a rub from Geddy. You can see the damage on the front of Mike Bushell's Volkswagen. Didn't look like that at the start of the day. And Dan Lloyd, after the contact with Josh Cook, is into the pits.
Yeah, it looks like rear damage there. So not a lot to be gained once you've done a pit stop here, with points only going down to 15th place.
Really bad day for Dan Lloyd, sadly, but he has been a winner this season. So we've had 11 different winners in the championship. Could we have a 12 from Chris Smiley as they come now through the Brook chicane? You're riding on board with Ollie Jackson. Adam Morgan just up the road ahead of him. This is 4th and 5th. Turkington versus Tordoff. Ingram behind.
Yeah, and Tordoff's car is quicker on the straight, which is why Turkington's had to defend every lap. You watch him move down to the inside. You can see Tordoff coming. He goes down to the inside, forces Tordoff to go round the long way or to cut back, and there's just no way in. So right across the inside. Everything. Tordoff is trying everything he can, but he needs to think about where he's going to pass.
Remember, he started the day on the front row for race 1, got involved in that tangle with Camish and others, and now he wants to try and round out the weekend with a much better result. He's had 6 fourth places, Sam Tordoff, this year. He desperately wants a podium, and he ain't there yet because he's still running in 5th place, stuck behind the BMW. In turn, it is Rory Butcher in 3rd place. Ingram 6th. He's not quite as close as he was a lap ago. Is he just waiting to see what pans out ahead of him? Because, of course, the BMW is catching the MG and taking the forward with it.
Yeah, and he's still hoping that, you know, whilst Tordoff is quicker than the BMW, he's going to attack him and do some damage. He doesn't need to do anything at the moment. But, of course, those two, Tordoff and Turkington, were teammates back at West Surrey Racing in 2016 when Tordoff so nearly won the championship.
That's right. So there, what's left of Mike Bushell's Volkswagen goes through. Aidan Moffat made a pit stop, but he's actually on the lead lap in the Laser Tools Mercedes in the background. Jason Plato, number 99 Subaru, is 16th, all over the back of Jack Goff, who's had a really frustrating weekend. It was handling dramas yesterday, but it's never really hooked up for the Honda driver, and he might be out of the points in a moment because he's got Plato breathing down his neck as they come over the line. The gap between the Honda and the Subaru is 0.156 of a second.
Absolutely nothing. Yeah. Oh,
that's Butcher.
That's Butcher, yeah.
So Rory Butcher was 3rd. He's off at the Dean hairpin, so that gives Ingram another place. And it also, of course, helps Connie Turkington now up into the top 3.
Yeah, so Turkington, Tordoff and Ingram all gone past. So that moment for Rory's been quite expensive, hasn't it?
Yeah. Remember at Snetterton when we got all excited about Bobby Thompson's progress, 28th he started, he's now running 11th, so 17 places gained, and this is Butcher.
Failing to stop.
Yes, that's the technical description. Runs out of road, runs out of brakes, runs out of everything, and off the road he goes. No damage, and actually, although he's lost places, not as many as he could have lost earlier. Now, the lead gap, 1.7 seconds. Smiley to Simpson, but in the sectors on this lap, Simpson is lapping quicker in Sector 1 and Sector 2, so the gap is coming down. There are 7 laps to go. Smiley is not home and dry by any means.
Yeah, the gap was 1.7 seconds with Smiley fractionally quicker on the last lap, so maybe he's made a little mistake. Yeah, he has. He's a couple of tenths down on the lap time to Simpson.
So in the first 2 sectors, Simpson was quicker, and the gap a second and a half now. Turkington, Tordoff, 3rd and 4th. Ingram is 5th, still banking points. And can Tordoff find a way past Turkington? That will help Ingram, of course, because it will take points away from the BMW driver. And Tordoff, in the much lighter Ford, is throwing everything at this.
Yeah, and it's difficult because he's got a faster car, certainly in the straights, but he needs it round the corners to attack anywhere other than the hairpin. So, or a mistake from Turkington, which is not likely to happen.
Looking back at Jason Plato's Subaru here.
Yeah, from Jack Goff's car, and that's all the way through Piff Paff, the long left-hander into Gracelands. Normally the cars run out wide there. Plato holding a very tight line. Jelly, the normal line out wide.
This is Cook on Proctor, down to the hairpin. There's a bit of a gap on the inside. Cook up the curve. Powers out the other side.
Yeah, a lighter car getting better acceleration off the corner.
Sam Tordoff in the pink Ford Focus started, don't forget, 18th on the grid, and he's running 4th. So it's been another excellent drive from the man that was runner-up in the championship 2 seasons ago, back in the championship after a year of racing GT cars for different teams in different championships, British GT and the Blancpain Endurance Series, and now toured off fourth. Ingram is fifth, Smiley to Simpson, the gap is back up again to 1.7 seconds. Jackson is eighth, but he's coming under huge attack from Bobby Thompson. This is a great drive by Thompson, and he's about to go for another place up towards Dean.
Yeah, he flashed the lights, didn't he, which was a bit of a brave thing to do. Oh, three abreast in, Morgan breaks on the inside, Thompson gets up the inside. Is he going to get ahead? Yes, he does. Gets ahead of Ollie Jackson as they come out the corner before they turn right into Edgewood.
Thompson leading Dunlop's Forever Forward Award, 19th place he's gained to the 14 of Stephen Jelly and Sam Tordoff. And Bobby Thompson goes through and gains yet another place, so even further ahead now in Forever Forward. So he's doing a really impressive job here. Volkswagen Racing Cup champion, first season in the British Touring Car Championship, and like we've seen from Mike Bushell earlier on in the weekend, showing how well that slippery Volkswagen shape works around here.
Yeah, it was always a good track for it, and the MG, and we're seeing that already today.
So Thompson now, ballast free, comes up to have a go at Adam Morgan, who is lugging around 66 kilos, and he's going to have a go on the outside out of the hairpin. That's the inside for the chicane, and with a much lighter Volkswagen, he'll just breeze on by, won't he? Thompson is now up into the top 7. Fantastic.
Another great result. Hold it together, Bobby, hold it together.
Top 6 maybe. Here is Ollie Jackson, the Audi lighter than the Mercedes, but Adam Morgan valiantly trying to hang on to the place. The leaders go by, the lead gap is down fractionally. 4 to run. The gap is 1.6 seconds. There, look, number 27 is Dan Camish. Now he has broken into the top 10, and he is pushing, and as Jackson has a bit of a twitch, the gap opens up on the inside. Here comes Camish in the Honda. There is Jackson on the outside trying to go ahead of Morgan. He breaks late, he's on the wrong line. Camish tucks right in behind the Mercedes, but can't get past the Audi.
Yeah, it looked like Camish just took the air off the back of the Audi as they were in that middle of the fast corner, and it just gave Ollie a twitch, but he held on well round the outside at Dean Hairpin.
So inside the last 4 laps, look back, there is Josh Cook. He's on the tail of Tom Oliphant. The Mercedes just hanging on to 11th place from the Vauxhall behind. Mercedes ahead of the Astra. This is Josh's view. Tom Oliphant right there ahead of him, and Josh Cook crawling all over the back of him now.
It really does show how the weight makes a difference in these cars, because you're watching Adam Morgan, winner of race 1, really struggling with that 66 kilos, and Ash Sutton with his 75 kilos on, he's only up to 80.
Other gainers in all of this, Jason Plato 14th, Aidan Moffat up to 21st. I know he's out of the points, but he is gaining ground as Ollie Jackson defends from Dan Camish. Oliphant is defending from Cook. There is Plato turning his way through now ahead of Senna Proctor, so Jason is up into 13th, and this is the sort of Jason Plato that we like to see, battling, gaining places, dragging the result out of the car, even if it's not quite capable of achieving it. He could always, or normally always, deliver, over-deliver.
Yeah, we've seen it over the years in every car he's driven, apart from the last couple of years in the Subaru.
So Camish attacks Jackson, who attacks Morgan. Oliphant defends from Cook. Now Josh Cook versus Jason Plato. There's a gap on the inside, and Jason, who's got his mojo back in this race, look, he's alongside. There's a sniff of the place. He will take it. Well,
yeah, and he breaks later and gets across in front.
So that
the reason they're all concertinaing into the Dean Hairpin is because Adam Morgan has to brake earlier because his car's heavier. So the others all then follow in a little bit deeper on the brakes and fall over each other.
And Plato was not done yet. There are the leaders. So Chris Smiley it is ahead. Second, Matt Simpson. The gap is 1.6 seconds. Colin Turkington is third. He's shaken off Tordoff, and Tom Ingram hanging on then for 5th place in the Speedworks Run Toyota. He's got 57 kilos to the 39 of Turkington, so it's heavier. Hence the pace is not quite as good, but he'll be happy, I think, after race 1 just to get some points out of this.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, doing the sensible thing, Tom Ingram, getting the most points he can with a heavy car.
Smiley over the timing line. Matt Simpson was 1.6 seconds adrift. He's now 1.8. Oliphant versus Plato here. And through they come with the Subaru looking for a way past the Mercedes for another place. This will be for 11th. Jack Goff losing ground, and Stephen Jelly also getting up on the inside there and going through.
Yeah, a bit of an unusual place, Chapman Curve, to get through there, but Jelly's car obviously working at this point a lot better than Goff's.
Has Jack got a problem? Because Ash Sutton passed him as well.
Yeah, clearly has. Just hasn't been a weekend for Goff, has he? It's another weekend a bit like Croft with barely anything out of it.
And Jack doesn't give up. I mean, he's a fighter. He has thrown everything at this. But yes, Prof got away from him. Snetterton, virtually the dream weekend. And then dramas here as well. So that's going to affect him in the championship. We go to Knock Hill in a fortnight's time, a completely different sort of venue compared to Rockingham. And there is Jason Plato, who can't yet find a way past Tom Oliphant, and we've got 2 laps to run. The other battle to look for is going to be Simpson to Turkington, 2nd and 3rd, but Plato crawling all over the back of Oliphant. There is 2nd and 3rd, and Matt Simpson has been reeled in by Turkington, who no longer has to defend from Tordoff. And despite all the damage, Matt Simpson's Honda is still hanging on to 2nd place. That Eurotech car having had a good weekend. The sister car of Jack Goff, as we've said, has been struggling. But a battle here as they come through now to start the final lap is going to play right into the hands of Smiley.
Yeah, I think that probably Matt Simpson's had the best out of those front tyres despite the shorter race distance. But Chris Smiley has driven a brilliant... Can you imagine what he's thinking inside that car? He's watched BTCC all his life. He's on the final lap, about to possibly win his very first race. I can imagine how he feels.
2nd and 3rd, still battling. Matt Simpson just ahead of Colin Turkington. That is going to go down to the wire. Jason Plato has passed Tom Oliphant, so he's into the top 11 now, the first 11 if you like. This is the battle for 2nd. Is it going to be a Honda or a BMW that takes the place on the line? But yes, Chris Smiley, who has always had a drive in the BTCC as an ambition, he has thrown everything at it over this season in the BTC Norlin Honda. Came into the championship initially with Team Hard. It didn't work. He went back to Clio's to learn about the circuits and has chipped away and looks as though he's going to be on to be our 12th different winner of the season. Matt Simpson, who has been a winner this year, goes wide coming out of Tarzan. That should give Turkington the run up alongside him. They are almost side by side down towards Brook. But Chris Smiley is going to give Bert Taylor's BTC Norlin team a 2nd win of the season. Simpson is wide. Turkington is past him. He gets in the way of Tordoff. They make contact. Tom Ingram trying to work out which way to go. Yeah, here to the flag. It's going to be a win for Chris Smiley for the first time in his touring car career. 2nd over the line is Colin Turkington. 3rd it is going to be Tordoff, then Simpson, and then Ingram. That's bad news in a way for Tom. He lifted to avoid contact, but Turkington gained places and Ingram couldn't, so that's bad for points.
But it was a great race, a great race. I'm so pleased for Chris Smiley. He worked so hard. He always told us he could do this, and he has. Turkington has picked up great points. Ingram good points as well, but a great race and another first-time winner.
Chris Smiley then, along with teammate Dan Lloyd, who won earlier on in the season, becomes a maiden victor in the British Touring Car Championship. Chris, many years ago, was racing in the German-based Sirocco R Cup, and he said, I want to come and race in the BTCC. I know I can win. And look how much this means to him. He's punching everything he can find inside the car. It has been a long time coming. That win that Dan Lloyd had at Croft was great for the team, but Chris, and he put a very brave face on it, you could tell, thought, I really wanted that to be me. Well, today is his day. Well done, Chris Smiley. And somewhere in all of the celebrations on the pit wall is the redoubtable Bert Taylor, who is the man behind BTC Norlin. A bigger enthusiast you would not find. He is a great, great character, and his 2nd victory of the season as a team principal. Now, let's go back to Matt Simpson, because he just locked up a little bit, went too deep into Brook. Turkington got past him, and then Simpson got in the way of Tordoff, so that delayed the Ford. There was contact, and Ingram got up with them, but couldn't really find the gap that he needed. The better thing was, of course, gaining the points rather than going for a gap that suddenly closed and risking contact. But Turkington then gained 2nd place. Ingram stays 5th. And that's good news for Colin Turkington. He's still sitting on just 1 win this season. But as we said pre-race, he knows when to go for points and when to go for a move. Chris Smiley, though, the winner by 3.5 seconds. And look at this drag race to the line. Virtual photo finish. Simpson, Tordoff and Ingram fanning out across the road. Another excellent race. And who knows when we'll be back at Rockingham for the British Touring Car Championship. But Chris Smiley has put himself in the record books after an excellent drive, and in a very short space of time, BTC Norlin, that came in last year with the Chevrolet Cruises, the Hondas this year, has put itself as a winning team. And look at Chris Smiley. He is over the moon. It's a very smiley Chris inside that car, I'm sure of it. And Bert Taylor and his son Ben, who, as I said a few moments ago, throw everything into this, will be elated as well. Chris Smiley is the race winner in round 21 at Rockingham. Chris Smiley takes his first British Touring Car Championship success ahead of Colin Turkington with Matt Simpson third. Sam Tordoff is fourth ahead of Tom Ingram. Rory Butcher sixth. A brilliant drive by Bobby Thompson for seventh, having started way back on the grid at 28th. Eighth is Adam Morgan, ninth Ollie Jackson, and Dan Camish into the top 10. 11th, Jason Plato. Good feisty drive by him ahead of Josh Cook. Tom Oliphant 13th ahead of Senna Proctor. Matt Neal gets the last point ahead of Stephen Jelly. Ash Sutton significantly out of the points ahead of Rob Austin. Jack Goff having a really bad day at the office, 19th. Mike Bushell behind him. 21st, Aidan Moffat ahead of newcomer Ollie Pidgley. Returning Glyn Geddy 23rd from Sam Smelt. And it was Dan Lloyd, also a pit caller. We lost James Cole with damage, Tom Chilton with damage, Andrew Jordan with damage, Michael Caine with damage. Funny echo here. Ricky Collard never really getting into the race, and we lost Brett Smith also early doors as well. So in the championship, it's Colin Turkington ahead as we leave Rockingham. 4 points up on Tom Ingram. Don't rule out Ash Sutton. He's third ahead of Jack Goff and Matt Neal. Adam Morgan is up to sixth. Then it's Tom Chilton seventh from Josh Cook, Andrew Jordan and Senna Proctor. So Chris Smiley arrives into the technical check area. Then he'll be released to Parc Fermé. And I think it's a rather emotional, Chris, this. He has worked so hard, and it's a tearful little Northern Irishman. He was in great form before this race, dealing with all the BTC Nordin guests. Part of a Touring Car Drivers' Day is to do lots of Q&As for the sponsored guests. And now